How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the stock market, breaking down what happened today in the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq, and I also want to share with you guys what I personally did today in the market, as well as a bunch of stocks and ETFs that I'm watching and looking to trade as we're heading into the month of May here in 2020. And we actually have a lot more to talk about. We have some earnings reports to break down from Tesla, Facebook, Microsoft. We have some notes here from the Fed meeting that I want to go over and kind of how that impacted gold and some of these gold miner stocks. So a lot to go over in today's video. And as always, if you guys enjoy the video, hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel. And feel free to join our Discord chat and our Facebook group, linked down below in the description, if you want to be further connected with the Strive Smart community. And don't worry, guys, those platforms are free of charge to join, so feel free to get in there. Again, link down below in the description box. So let's get into it. And today was arguably one of the craziest days in the stock market in recent history. And the S&P 500 ended up going up about 80 points today, up 76 points to be exact, up about 2.7%. And a lot of this move came in the overnight. It came overnight, right? We gapped up from 2860 yesterday. That's where we closed, up to about 29.20 at the market open today. That's a move of about 2%. And you guys can see the S&P actually rallied from there, 29.20, all the way up to 29.54. It's crazy. The S&P is almost back to the $3,000 level. So overnight, you know, in under 24 hours, pretty much, the S&P has made a move of about 100 points. And why is this happening? Well, the market is kind of anticipating earnings from these massive companies. Yesterday, we had Google report. Google stock was up about 10% today. You know, that kind of pushed the markets up and set an upbeat tempo today, right? We got some news from Gilead, and yes, I said Gilead. For those new viewers out there, I've been roasted on the channel before because I pronounced it Gilead a couple of videos ago, Gilead, and I know, guys, now it is pronounced Gilead. We got some good news from Gilead, ticker symbol GILD, about the treatment here for the CV, and I'm not a medical expert. I'm not going to go over that, but you guys can go and do your own research. But this was a sign as well. A good sign as well for the market today, and it kind of pushed up and propped up the futures, if you may, right? So those are some reasons why the market is pushing up today. And based on a technical perspective, when it comes to the S&P 500, we're officially out of the critical level, guys. And what is that critical level? What has been that critical level? And if you guys have been following the channel, you know this. It's been about 2850 to about 2900 on the S&P. You guys know back from August to about October, that was a pretty strong level of support, and obviously we broke the support, and when you break a support, it becomes a new resistance, right? So that made it a big level. And the 180 SMA here on the 4-hour chart has been a resistance over the past couple of weeks, right? And that was right at 2,900 as well. So needless to say, 2,900, 2,850, very strong level of resistance. And now with the S&P up, again, about 80 points today, we are well above the 180 SMA, which is extremely, extremely bullish here on the 4-hour chart. And judging on some of these stocks, guys, again, you know, Facebook up incredibly after hours. You'll see that here in a couple of minutes. You know, Microsoft up big. Amazon's earnings are coming up, and if Amazon follows suit and does well, their stock goes up. You know, this market, it's going to go even higher. Hey, we may even hit $3,000 for the S&P 500 tomorrow, right? So pretty crazy day today when it comes to that. The Dow Jones up 500 230 points today, up 2.21%. Very strong day, just like the S&P. Yesterday, we talked about 24,000 to about 24,200 being a pretty strong level of resistance on the Dow Jones. And what do you know? Today, we broke right past it. But we are trending right under the major moving average here, under the 180 SMA on the 4-hour chart. So that is a point that I'm going to be watching tomorrow for the Dow Jones. But if the futures hold up like they are right now, you guys can see Dow futures are up about 90 points. We should be breaking out of that level tomorrow with no problem, honestly, guys. And we may even fill the gap. Who knows? Up to 25,000, maybe even to 25,300, which is this next major level of resistance here that I am seeing. And when it comes to the Nasdaq, as many of you guys can imagine, with the tech stocks crushing it today, it did very well, up about 3.5%, up $305, and you guys can clearly see we broke that 8,900 to about $9,000 level of resistance. It was really more like 8,900 to be honest, guys, and you guys can see it on this 5-day, 5-minute. We struggled there on the 27th of this month at about 8,900. Yesterday on the 28th, we failed at about 8,900. So the fact that we broke above it today, that is extremely bullish here for the Nasdaq. And I figured, let's talk about the Russell. I might start talking about the Russell here because I feel like it's pretty relevant with all of this stimulus, these small business packages, stimulus packages going through Congress, and the Russell 2000 comprising small businesses. I figured we should go over it because this tends to do even better than the Dow, S&P, and the Nasdaq in these green days, because a lot of the time, the small stocks, they do better when it comes to percentage points than a lot of these larger companies, and that's kind of why the Russell is pushing up today. And in general, the stimulus as well, it's just pushing a lot of optimism into the smaller stocks. And you guys can see the Russell was up almost 5% today. That is insane, up about $63. So when it comes to the markets, that kind of is a summary here. Very strong day, very bullish day. The S&P is roaring. It's looking like it's going straight to the $3,000 level, despite the underlying fundamentals here of the economy and many businesses still being weak, right? And I feel like it's going to maintain that way. And obviously the market at this point, it's pricing in a lot of optimism. And now with these earnings reports coming in strong, that's going to bring even more optimism into this. So if you're trading and you have a bearish bias here against the market and you're kicking yourself like, crap, why is the market going up? What I want to challenge you with is maybe try and kick the bias away, because me too, guys. I've been on the channel before saying the market it's irrational. Why is it going up? When all the fundamentals are poor. And I've learned, and many of you guys have learned as well, over the years with many different drops, and especially with this drop, you have to just throw your bias out the window. Trade what's in front of you. Trade the trend, and the trend right now, guys, is up. Nasdaq, S&P, Russell, Dow, the trend is up. Before, it was down. That's why we were trading the downtrend, trading a bunch of these bearish ETFs, shorting stocks, playing puts. That's when the trend was down. But now that the trend is up and we got even further confirmation that the trend is going to remain up, at least here in the short term, that's kind of how we have to trade it. So let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on the markets, individual stocks, the big boys when it comes to Apple, all the FANG stocks. I'd love to know down below in the comment section. Now, to quickly talk about what I did, guys, because This video, I kind of want to talk more about the earnings reports and different stocks I'm watching rather than what I personally did. But I made a quick little trade in CCL, and this was a very textbook trade here. We kind of went over it yesterday. Well, we did go over it. It kind of went exactly to how I planned it. And if you guys remembered in yesterday's video, we talked about major levels on CCL. One of them was $14, $13.80 to $14. I talked about how if we break that, it's likely to fill the gap up to $16. And what do you know? It did exactly that. In the pre-market session, this thing was up. It was up like, 10% pre-market, which is insanity. And I talked about how if we break $16, I didn't think it would happen this quick, but I said if we break $16, CCL has a big chance to go up to about $19. As that is the next level of resistance that I'm seeing here. And after hours, guys, it's almost there. This is absolutely incredible. The stock has gone from $16.70 to almost $18.70 in the aftermarket session alone. But that's not where I caught the trade. Just pointing that out now that I'm seeing it. That is just absolutely incredible. But for me, I personally got into CCL on this bullish move above 1620, which again is that level of resistance that I looked at and said, if we break this point, we may be rallying higher. So I put my money where my mouth was, bought in at 1630, and it ran up quite aggressively to about 1685. I didn't lock the profits there like I should have, right? But hindsight's 2020, right? But after it dropped from 1685 down to about 1670, 1660, I was like, okay, let me just lock it in real quick. Let me just put a limit sell. And at 1660, I did exactly that. So from 1630 up to 1660, that was the quick move of the day for me of about 2%. And if I held it, guys, up until now, what do you know? I would be up 11%, but that's okay. We can't grab every single percentage gain in the stock market. That's obviously unrealistic. Our job as traders is to come in and obviously have a plan, of course, right? Like I personally did with CCL, and grab some profit. And once you're comfortable, lock in the profit, because nobody has ever gone broke by locking in profit. So that's what I personally did today. And quite honestly, guys, there was a lot of money that I did leave on the table, as many stocks out there, pretty much every stock was doing well today. But the truth is, I kind of wanted to wait for the Microsoft earnings, the Facebook earnings. I kind of want to wait for Apple and Amazon as well before I do end up making a lot more moves in this market. So let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on that, and kind of what you did. I'd love to know what you did in the markets today. So let's go over now kind of some of these earnings reports. Then we'll talk about the Fed meeting. And the Fed meeting, it wasn't anything crazy. We got news that we might as well just go over that because it wasn't anything crazy first. So the Fed meeting, they're pretty much keeping rates between 0% to 0.25%, right? And they're not looking to change that anytime soon, right? And it's kind of the same policy as it was coming out of the Great Recession in 2008. They kept interest rates at 0% up until 2015, 2016, or something like that. Then they tried notching it back up, and you guys saw what happened in 2018, 2017 when they tried pushing it up. The market crashed, right? Which is when they started cutting rates again. And now we're at 0, and they don't plan on changing that. And another thing we got from the Federal Reserve is they're not planning on changing anything when it comes to quantitative easing. In fact, they're still going to do unlimited quantitative easing, which is kind of why we're seeing gold push up. This is like the dream for a gold bug out there. I'm not a gold bug, but many gold bugs out there, they're itching their hands, right? Or they're like, yes, unlimited quantitative easing. The dollar's going to get inflated, right? A lot of inflation, rather. The dollar's going to get devalued. That's the word I was looking for. And What is good when there's a lot of quantitative easing, money printing? What do? People flood to gold, right? And that's kind of why we saw gold push and see a rally, in my opinion, later on in the day. We saw gold was hovering at like 1700, 1708, and all of a sudden it had a massive rally to about 1730, as did the gold miners stocks. So the current situation with monetary policy, it's obviously good for gold, and that's why I'm bullish on gold and why I've been bullish on gold, over these past couple of months. And somebody asked me yesterday, Stas, the stock market's going up. Isn't that bad for gold? Well, no, because the monetary policy is still good for gold at this point. Typically, what you see with gold is it does well kind of leading into the recession, and that's kind of where we are right now. And during a recession, and when we're coming out of the recession, that is when gold kind of falls off. People start taking the money from gold and putting it into the stock market, and that's where you see kind of gold fall and the stock market take off. But it's funny because now we're seeing the stock market take off and gold take off because, the fundamentals are still good for gold, and the market's kind of seeing this rally because of all the stimulus and the Fed throwing the kitchen sink. So we're at the market. So we're really at a funky spot right now when it comes to everything. So I'm still bullish on gold, of course, and the market, it still seems like it's running up. Although I'm not doing any long-term investing right now, I'm simply trading the trends. So that's kind of what ended up happening with the Fed meeting today. Some just, quick notes there and kind of how it affected gold and these gold miners stocks here. And when it comes to earnings, guys, this is incredible. We saw Facebook report, Tesla report, as well as Microsoft. And when it comes to Facebook, guys, this stock went to $217 after hours. And mind you, it was already up 6% today, and it was at $194 at the close of the market. So you're telling me Facebook went from 182 all the way to 220 in the span of a day, which, if you guys can see, that is a move of about 15% in the stock. That is absolutely incredible. So what did they report to warrant that type of move? Well, EPS came in at $1.71. That actually missed the $1.74 estimate. And revenue came in at $17.73, which beat the $17.48 estimate. So the basic numbers, EPS missed, and revenue ended up beating. And revenue actually grew 17% year over year, with monthly active users improving by 10% year over year from 2.38 billion all the way to about 2.6 billion. And like many of these companies, guys, and I mentioned this in many of these videos, Facebook is not providing specific revenue numbers, guidance, right, for quarter two or for the full year of 2020 at this point in time. And that's because, let's be honest, with the CV, everything going on, business is unpredictable. It's kind of a situation where, you don't really know what's going to happen. So you can't really provide guidance. And again, that's with many of these companies. And at this point, Facebook stock being at the level that it's at, we're approaching the all-time high again. Isn't that crazy to say? All-time high being at about $225. That is now one of the main resistances that we're going to be dealing with. That's if Facebook is able to hold here. And let's say Facebook cools off a bit. $200 is kind of where I'm looking to see if it can hold, guys. $200. Again, you guys can see that was a level we actually held back in February and December and January multiple times. So just keep an eye on that point. Now, Tesla, guys, and like I've mentioned, Tesla is never a stock that ceases to amaze me, right? This thing is always either up massive after hours, down massive after hours when it comes to its earnings report. And today, the stock ended up going up $30 on the day. It closed at $800 and it was up 4%. And take a look. After hours, it hit almost $900 and went all the way up to $884. That is a move of about 10% after hours. And yesterday we closed at 760, guys. So if you bought at 760, held at 8 to 880, sold, you would have made 13% on Tesla, which is absolutely incredible. And mind you guys, I'm not sharing every single number regarding to these companies' earnings reports. You guys have to do a bit more digging yourself because this video would be way too long. But Tesla's EPS came in at $1.24, so profitable quarter for Tesla, versus the 21 cents estimated. So they completely blew the estimate out of the water there. Not even close, right? And revenue came in at $5.98 billion, let's call it $6 billion, versus the, what was it here? The $5.85 billion estimated. So they beat on EPS, they beat on revenue. We got some news that Tesla believes the Shanghai Model 3 production rate will reach about 4,000 vehicles per week by mid-2020, which at this point, we're already mid-2020, it seems like. I mean, obviously, it's not mid-2020 quite yet, but that's in 2 months from now. So that's pretty interesting. And just like Facebook, and again, just like many of these other companies, Tesla's near-term profit guidance is on hold. So at this point, am I FOMOing into Tesla stock? Nope. Am I regretting not getting in? Not really, because I don't like holding through earnings. That's not my trading style, but I'm simply just watching it at this point to see, are we going to cool off? Are we going to hold this? Or is this, going straight to $1,000? That could happen as well in the near-term future. Who knows, guys? So I'm really excited to see, and I'm interested. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Is Tesla going back towards $600 first, or is it going towards $1,000 first? And by the looks of it, it's going to $1,000 first. And Microsoft is the next earnings report that I want to go over here. Basic numbers. You can see after hours, it's up to about $182. So not as drastic of a move here after hours. Actually, it did hit about 186 at its peak, which is about a 9-point move up from the close of the market. So that is pretty solid. And their EPS actually came in at $1.40 versus the $1.27 expected, and revenue came in at $35 billion versus the $33.7 billion estimated. So they also beat numbers by a wide margin, and their cloud division actually ended up jumping about 27% year over year. And a lot of kind of the hype around Microsoft, not the hype, that's the wrong word, but a lot of people have been looking at Microsoft Azure, right, the cloud service, as a key component of their business. Obviously, it's a key component of their business, but especially during this time that everybody's working from home, more people are using the cloud. So that is an interesting number. We have to keep an eye on that and kind of how Azure grows here over the next couple of months and years, as that is one of the critical points in Microsoft's business and its future growth. So a lot of the, we got some news here that a lot of the effect when it comes to Microsoft and many other businesses hasn't really been fully, reflected in the financials right now, and it may actually reflect more the effect from the CV and the financials here in later periods. So that is kind of concerning, right? Because this quarter, their earnings weren't that affected, I guess, but we might see, they obviously were affected, but the future quarters might be even worse. That's all I'm trying to say here, right? And when it comes to some other companies to keep an eye out for, Apple, Apple's up to 292 after hours. They're reporting their earnings tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at this. I believe it's on Thursday they're reporting. Yep, Thursday is tomorrow. Amazon is also reporting earnings tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a ridiculous day. And I believe McDonald's, did they report today? I completely missed that. No, they're actually reporting earnings tomorrow as well, pre-market. So these are a couple more companies to just keep an eye out on when it comes to earnings. And some other stocks, guys, a lot of stocks did very well today, obviously, but some that just did ridiculously well were some of these airlines. American Airlines was up about 12% today. It's up even more here after hours, up to almost $13.60. United Airlines, UAL, was also up massive today, up about 12%. It's up to almost $33 after hours as well. And all of these companies are approaching some pretty critical levels, right? Going back to AAL, it's breaking that 180 SMA on the 4-hour chart, which could be a breakout sign. And same exact thing here with UAL. So these are definitely levels to keep an eye out on. And if you guys checked out my video, this was about a week or two, go to my YouTube channel and type in stocks to buy as the economy reopens. And we talked about a lot of the movie theater stocks, the hotel stocks, and many of those went completely parabolic today. AMC has been on a ridiculous run, up 25% today. Some of the other ones, let me just quickly search that video here so I can see in the notes here. Some of the other ones we talked about in that video about a week or two ago. Cinemark was up 9% today. Wynn Resorts, these are companies that got hit very hard because casinos, movie theaters, hotels, no one's using these, right, as we're in the middle of this crisis. Wynn Resorts up 8 to 9% today. We had the Hilton Hotel. Let's see what they're up. About 5%. Still a pretty solid day there. The Marriott, MAR, about 10% up today. CCL, we talked about that. About 15% up today. RCL, up about 15% as well. Uber stock, we talked about in that video, up about 4% today, although we did get some news. I believe Uber is laying off, here we go. Uber discusses plan to lay off about 20% of the employees. CTO has resigned, so that is a bit concerning there. Obviously, it's good for cost cutting, but the fact that people are losing their jobs obviously is not a good thing here for the economy. So a lot of these stocks, guys, keep an eye on them because they could continue to see ridiculous gains here, especially as optimism of the economy reopening continues, and especially if the markets in general continue rallying up with these massive companies reporting earnings, this could continue flushing these stocks up as well. So when it comes to stocks, guys, those are a lot of the ones that I'm watching right now. We have Virgin Galactic as well. This is one that I'm also watching. It's creeping up here into almost the 19 territory. The uptrend is still intact, right? So I'm looking to see, tomorrow, is Virgin Galactic able to break into the 19 range? That's kind of where I'm looking to take the trade up to about maybe $20 per share. I believe Boeing, actually, now that I'm remembering it, also reported earnings today. And I almost missed updating you guys on Boeing's earnings. They actually reported before the market. And you guys can see they were up about 6%. And honestly, I didn't do too much research into Boeing's earnings. I'll probably end up going over those in tomorrow's video, but either way, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on BA and, again, all of these other stocks that are reporting. So that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. Absolute mayhem in this market. The futures are up immensely right now. The Nasdaq is crushing it after hours. It hit about $9,100 here when it comes to the futures. So keep an eye on this stuff, guys. Be in tune with the market, and the more you keep track track with things, watch stocks, keep up with earnings, the more you'll understand kind of how the market works. And don't just keep an eye on the stock market. In my opinion, it's a great idea to have an understanding of everything, not just the market, stock market, but understand the bond market. Have a brief understanding of the real estate market, the gold market, right? The debt market, everything, and in that way you'll have a more macro understanding of things. The Fed, right? The politics play a role sometimes in things like this. And that way, you'll have just an overall understanding of how things work, and you'll really be able to see stuff, guys, that you wouldn't be able to see before. That's really all I have to say. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel. And if you guys actually want free stocks, Weeble's running a promotion right now where if you deposit $100 into the account using my affiliate link in the description below, you actually get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400, and who doesn't like free money at the end of the day, guys? So use that link down below in the description. I really do appreciate all of your support as always. I'll catch you all in the next video. Stay safe out there, guys, until this whole CV thing subsides. Prayers with you guys if you are struggling with it. If anybody knows anybody, prayers to you as well. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out.